Hey guys, it's Mrs. Polk, and here are your first set of environmental science notes. If you haven't gotten this sheet, please check Google Classroom. This sheet is attached with this video, so please use that guided note sheet to go ahead and take notes. Please keep in mind that you do have a quiz on Tuesday, September 17th, so please be prepared for that. Let's go ahead and get started. So, environmental science, what is it? It's the study of the air, water, and land surrounding an organism or community, which ranges from a small area to Earth's entire biosphere. And we'll be talking about this biosphere in a little bit. Not today, but later on. It also includes the study of the impact of humans on the environment. If you need a moment, go ahead and pause and then continue when you're ready. So humans have been impacting the environment since day one. Back in the day, we had the people were called hunters and gatherers. They would go around and collect, kill animals and for food, and gather seeds and other, things that grow to eat. So they would burn down the prairies so that trees would not grow, so they would be able to hunt more easily. They would also cause new plants to grow in new areas because they gathered the seeds, and as you carry something, sometimes one or two things might drop. So sometimes the seeds would drop and the plants would begin growing in new areas. Go ahead and pause if you need to and continue when you're ready. Continuing on with our human impact, eventually farming came about when hunters and gatherers would gather the seeds from other plants and then go ahead and plant them. Hunter and gatherers also domesticated animals, and this all led to the agricultural revolution, which we'll talk about in the next couple of slides. Go ahead and pause if you need to, or and then continue when you're ready. Let's talk about the agricultural revolution. It made it possible for an area of land to support 500 times as many people than hunting and gathering. So by farming, people were able to have more people in an area, and they didn't have to travel as much. So about 500 times more people were able to live together. Farmlands that they created destroyed grasslands, forests, and wetland habitats. They did the practice of slashing and burning, which is when you cut down trees, you burn the lots that the trees were on, and then they farm there, and that farmland takes place of that natural habitat that was once there. Early farmlands became infertile due to poor farming techniques. They literally had no clue what they were doing, and so they ruined the soil that the plants were in because either A, they didn't grow the right plant, or B, they didn't do crop rotations. Crop rotations are a humongous thing where one year you grow one thing and the next year you grow something different. That allows some plants contribute to nutrients to the soil, and they had no idea about any of that. So due to their inexperience, they destroyed most of their farmlands were not very much usable after so many years. Go ahead and pause if you need to, and then continue when you're ready. The Industrial Revolution occurred between the mid-1700s, so it's kind of interesting to see. That was about like 300 years ago, and that's pretty fascinating to see to look at that. And I'm going to show you a clock at the end that kind of shows where humans appeared on the timeline of Earth. So, the Industrial Revolution involved a shift of energy source from animal power to fossil fuel power. So, this is when we start getting into using our fossil fuels, and we cut back on the amount of animals that we use. This increases the use of fossil fuels in machines, the increase in them, the fossil fuels, and using machines change society. It made agriculture more efficient. It also made the industry and transportation areas also more efficient. Factories were able to make goods that were less expensive than handmade goods, so a lot of people stopped making things at home, like baskets and other things they may have used. Also, less people grew their own food and they moved to urban areas, and those urban areas grew. So since there was this need with machines and stuff, and less people relying on themselves to grow food, less people grew it. The Industrial Revolution also improved life. The light bulb was invented during this time. Agricultural productivity increased, and also sanitation, nutrition, and medical care also improved. Human population began to grow, but pollution and habitat loss became more common. So during this time is when we come into the beginnings of pollution and seeing habitats being lost over areas. Go ahead and pause if you need to. Continue when you're ready. Plastic and artificial plastics, artificial pesticides, and fertilizers became the norm in the 1900s. These items made life easier, but it presented environmental issues that we most likely weren't aware of or had, the ability to see um, it affecting in the long run. So the stuff that we started using, even though it did make life easier, it wasn't good for the environment. So Spaceship Earth can not take in new materials or get rid of its waste. It is often described as a spaceship in space because when a spaceship is in space, it can't bring anything in and it can't release anything out into the environment around it. Excuse me. Earth is a closed system, which means things do not enter or leave, with the exception of the sun's energy. We can receive the sun's energy. This means we could use all of our resources and or we may be running out of space for waste. So we really need to make sure we keep an eye on that stuff and come up with different solutions so that we can preserve our Earth and so that we can continue to live here. Environmental problems that can occur on different scales. So these are different areas in which we can have these environmental problems, and that's local, regional, and global. Human population growth is a contributing factor to environmental issues. The agricultural and industrial revolutions allowed for our population to expand more quickly. Therefore, we have a lot more people on this earth, and it's just contributing to that factor. Go ahead and pause if you need to. Continue when you're ready. So there are three main environmental issues. They are resource depletion, pollution, and loss of biodiversity. And we're going to dive into those each. Go ahead and pause if you need to, and then restart when you're ready. So resource depletion. First up, we have to go over the type of resources. We have something called natural resources, and it's any natural material that is used by humans. And those natural resources are broken down to two different types. We have renewable and non-renewable. Renewable can be replaced relatively quickly by natural processes. For example, fresh water, air, soil, trees, crops, those are all renewable resources. We also have non-renewable resources. They form at a much slower rate, and those are things like minerals and fossil fuels. Depletion is used faster than it can be replaced. So renewable resources can be depleted. It's just that they're being used faster than what they can be replaced. And obviously non-renewable resources can also be depleted because they take longer to reform. So your next main type of environmental issue is pollution. Pollution is an undesired change in air, water, or soil that adversely affects the health, survival, or activities of humans or other organisms. So it's anything that affects us basically negatively, and that negative change is in the air, water, or soil. There are two types of pollutants. The first is biodegradable pollutant. That is when it can be broken down by natural processes. So it's not like we have to add anything or do anything special. If you leave it outside, it will break down and we won't have to worry about it. Two examples would be like human sewage or newspapers. Non-degradable pollutants do not break down easily or at all. And some examples are mercury, lead, and some plastics. Go ahead and pause if you need to. Continue when you're ready. Loss of biodiversity is the next major form of major issue. Biodiversity refers to the number and variety of species that live in the area. So not only is it like how many of something, but it's what types of something. And it's important to note that only a fraction of our species are alive today that originally started here on Earth. And it's also important to note that extinction is natural, and mass extinctions have occurred naturally. However, humans using up resources have led to more extinctions at a faster rate. It's also extremely important to understand that extinct species are gone forever. They will never ever come back. Go ahead and pause if you need to. Continue when you're ready. Now, tying that tragedy of commons that we've been talking about a little bit, people were given a common land to let their sheep graze. So, like in this community, people were given this area of land, and it was okay to put sheep on there and let them graze. However, they had this mentality that if someone did not have more sheep grazing than someone else, they would miss out. So, it would just be crazy. They had this mentality that, like, fear of missing out on resources or, gaining anything. They also thought that if they added more of their own sheep, it would not harm that area. They didn't understand that, the concept of carrying capacity. And once that carrying capacity is met in the area, it's done. So when this happened, the area became depleted. It could no longer grow grass, and sheep became very sickly. Go ahead and pause if you need to, and continue when you're ready. So you have this picture on your notes, and this is like a timeline of Earth, and it's fit into an hour so you can kind of see what's going on. And if you look at this, here Earth's crust forms at 1 second, and you go around and around and around, it's important to note that our first human ancestor wouldn't have appeared on Earth until 59 minutes and 58.8 seconds. So we are very, very recent to Earth's history. Even the first modern man of 59 minutes, 59 seconds, 59.9 seconds. Okay, look, we haven't even been here that long, and we have caused so many issues and stuff that we just need to fix. So it's important to note that, like, look, fish were here for a longer period of time than we were. Sea life, jellyfish, those all were here, but we are up here and we have intelligent thinking and reasoning skills, so we need to make sure we're taking care of the planet, not just for ourselves, but for everything else. Okay. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. You guys will be taking your quiz on Tuesday. I hope you have a good day. Thank you. Bye.